Hi everyone, my name is Tim Herwig and I work as a product management coach. Welcome to this quick walkthrough of my impact mapping template I created for the Miroverse. Now, before we get started, a quick disclaimer that the concept I'm showing you is based on an original idea developed by Gojko Atjic back in 2012 and what was also called impact mapping. But over the years, as working as a product manager and head of product and ultimately product management coach, I developed my own version of impact mapping, which I just found to be even more effective to help product teams to focus on outcomes instead of getting lost on actual features. So let's jump right in. Now, when you look at the board at first, you might see that it's not necessarily a complete step-by-step walkthrough. Instead, I collected a lot of different resources which hopefully help you use impact mapping the exact way you use it. And those might be different ways, but there are two main scenarios in which you might want to be using impact mapping. The first one would be to have a place for ongoing documentation of any kind of insights or pieces of evidence you collect throughout the process of running a product discovery. Second, you might also want to use impact mapping in a workshop scenario where you really bring everyone from the team and stakeholder environment into one room to assess if what you're currently working on actually helps contribute to the main impact the company wants to achieve. Now, I tried to set up this board in a way that it works for both scenarios. So you can use it on the one hand as sort of like a cheat sheet to facilitate an impact mapping workshop, and on the other hand, to use it as the core part to document any kind of product discovery insights. So you see at the top that I've created multiple ways of how the impact map looks like, which really at its core is a 5-level process. Below that, I've created more in-depth explanations and examples for what those individual levels could look like. So when we zoom in, we see that impact mapping at the core really consists of those 5 main questions you should try to answer. Why are you doing this? Who are you doing it for? How are you trying to change their behavior? What are you exactly going to build in order to create this change in behavior? And how do you know whether this solution is actually worth pursuing? Translated into a bit more tangible artifacts or activities you might be experiencing in your day-to-day work, this could relate to things like you want to be clear about the impact you're contributing to. Like, what is the company level metric which is currently most important for your team or your department you're working in? The second level describes the actors, which means list out everybody who could help you achieve this goal, achieve this impact, and contribute to it. Those might be internal actors like customer support or the sales department, or external actors like your main user group or different segmentations of those user groups. Below that, you want to be sure to articulate the outcome you're trying to achieve. And an outcome really describes a change in behavior. So based on the research you have been doing, how do you want to change the behavior of the actors in order to contribute to the impact? Then it's finally time to step into the solution space and talk about the exact outputs, meaning which solutions and which features are you going to pursue and are you going to build to create this change in behavior. And last but not least, you don't just want to build every idea which comes to mind, but you want to run experiments to make sure that you have validated this idea before you transition it into the next Scrum sprint. Now, in the case of a couple of examples, here's how this could look like. So let's assume we're a real estate company and we're saying, look, the main company level metric we want to change is that we want to increase the number of ready to sell real estate agents by 10% until the end of 2019. And this might be broken down into new real estate agents we're acquiring or hiring, any existing agents, HR department as an internal actor. And then, as I mentioned, we slowly transition our way through the outcomes and listing the outcomes before talking about the actual solutions. So the beauty of impact mapping is that it forces you sort of to start with the why and work through the problem space first, which really is all about where those first 3 steps are about before you even start talking about solutions. Now, if you would map the impact mapping steps to the typical phases of a product discovery, even though this is very non-linear, as most of you probably know, you could probably break it down like this, that you should be able to fill the why level of the impact map, probably during an alignment exercise you do at the beginning of a discovery by using frameworks like OKR or the mission briefing. Then when you start doing your research activities, whether it's qualitative or quantitative research, you're probably much more able to outline or make it clear like who are the actors, who are the players we need to focus on, and you want to broaden your perspective on how you need to create that change in behavior through ongoing research activities. And then when you're clear about the problem space and have fully understood it and have prioritized which outcomes to focus on first, it's time to go into ideation. And by running ideation sessions, you will probably very quickly fill the output level of the impact map before you then pick the solutions you believe in the most to run experiments to see whether they are actually worth pursuing. As I said, below that you find more detail and more probing questions you should be able to answer after completing every level, as well as more examples giving you an idea what kind of post-it notes from a formal perspective can go into every of the impact mapping levels. All the way from the why level to the how, to the who, the how, the what level, and of course the whether level. So use that for informing your product discovery check-ins, your stakeholder update meetings, or really your impact mapping sessions you might be running at the beginning of the year, of the quarter. But whatever you do, make sure to use this not as an exact step-by-step blueprint, but instead use it as a starting point to have a more informed discussion in your team and in your company to shift away from focusing on solutions right away and make sure that you have fully understood the problem space you're trying to solve and to address and how this fits into the bigger strategic picture of your company. Enjoy.